The summer started with excitement and lightness. Lena had always felt safe with Kayla, her closest friend since childhood. When Kayla invited her to stay for the summer while her parents traveled abroad, Lena couldn't say no. It felt like an adventure, a break from her usual routine, a chance to be somewhere new. Kayla's house was warm and full of energy, just like her. But it was Noah, Kayla's older brother, who shifted the rhythm. He'd been away at college and returned home for the break, different from how Lena remembered. Quieter, more confident, and somehow more present. At first, their conversations were casual. Lena noticed how he listened differently from others, how he asked questions and actually cared about the answers. He never forced a moment, but there was something there. A look that lingered longer than it should, a casual joke that felt charged. Late nights became normal. Kayla would fall asleep early, and Lena would find herself in the kitchen getting water, only to bump into Noah. One night, they stood by the fridge laughing over something silly. He said she'd changed, that she seemed more thoughtful. It was a simple comment, but it stayed with her. She started noticing the small things, how he'd glance at her from across the room, how his voice softened when they spoke. Lena wasn't naive, but she didn't want to assume anything. She told herself not to overthink it. He was Kayla's brother. That boundary should have been clear. Still, she felt the pull. They started sharing moments that felt separate from everything else, quiet ones. A book she mentioned, he read. A song he liked, she memorized. Lena caught herself dressing with more thought, wondering if he'd notice. One afternoon, the three of them watched a movie. Kayla got up midway to take a call, and Lena stayed seated, heart beating a little too fast. Noah didn't say anything, just looked at her with a quiet intensity that made it hard to breathe. Then Kayla walked back in, and the moment disappeared like smoke. Later that night, Lena couldn't sleep. She lay there thinking about how wrong it could be, how hurt Kayla might feel if she knew. But there was something undeniable growing, and Lena couldn't tell if she wanted it to stop. She woke up the next morning to find a note on the kitchen counter from Noah. "Coffee's still warm if you want some." Simple, but her name was written on the top. That day, she laughed more than usual. She told herself she was imagining things, that it was harmless. But deep down, Lena already knew something had shifted. She could feel it in the quiet moments, in the silence that didn't need filling. She was falling for him, and she wasn't sure she wanted to stop. What she didn't know yet was how fragile these moments were, how easy they could be broken by a truth not yet revealed. The days passed with a rhythm that felt dangerously comfortable. Kayla had signed up for a summer volunteer program, leaving early in the mornings and returning late in the evenings. Lena and Noah were alone more often now, and with every quiet hour that passed, the lines between right and wrong blurred a little more. They talked more. About life, about family, about things they never said around other people. Noah opened up about college pressure, about feeling out of place even when surrounded by people. Lena listened, drawn to his honesty, his easy charm. He made her feel like she mattered, like he saw her not just as Kayla's friend, but as someone who understood. One night it happened. She was in the living room reading when he walked in and sat beside her. They didn't speak at first. The silence wasn't uncomfortable, it was heavy, charged. He looked at her like he was searching for something, and then leaned in. Their kiss was hesitant, soft, over before it really began. But the damage was done. They both knew it. He said, quietly, "Maybe we shouldn't," but didn't move away. The next day, nothing was said about it. Lena thought he'd pretend it didn't happen, but then he brushed her hand in passing, subtle, deliberate. The space between them grew smaller with each passing day. He'd wait for Kayla to leave, then they'd share moments in the kitchen, in the backyard under stars. It was secret and it was thrilling, but guilt grew alongside the excitement. Lena caught herself lying to Kayla, small things, little changes in her voice when she asked what they'd done that day. Kayla never suspected anything. She was too trusting. That trust became a weight Lena couldn't shake. Noah didn't help. Some days he'd be warm and attentive. Other days, distant, like he was pulling away. Lena asked him once if he regretted what was happening. He said, "It's complicated," and left it at that. It stung more than she let on. One evening, she saw him on the porch, phone in hand, smiling at a message. When he noticed her watching, he locked the screen and slid it into his pocket. "Work stuff," he said with a shrug. She nodded but felt the first crack form. Still, she stayed. She told herself it was just summer, that feelings didn't have to make sense, that maybe this was love, even if it came with shame. He made her feel wanted, seen, but he never made promises. And that silence, over time, started to feel like an answer she didn't want to hear. The weight of the secret pressed harder. Every laugh with Kayla felt like a lie. Every glance from Noah in her presence felt like a betrayal in motion. Lena kept telling herself she was in control. But deep down, she knew this wasn't going to end the way she hoped. And still, she stayed. All changed the night Lena saw the message. She hadn't meant to look. His phone lit up while he was in the shower, and her name wasn't on the screen. It was a message from someone named Eliza. "Can't wait to finally see you. Did you tell her yet?" Her chest tightened. She read it again, hoping it would say something different. It didn't. When Noah came back, she handed him his phone without a word. He looked at her face, then down at the screen, and the silence between them turned heavy. He didn't deny it. He didn't even act surprised. He just sat down and said, "I was going to talk to you." She felt cold.
Numb.
"Who is she?" she asked, but part of her already knew. He said they had history. That things got complicated. That he didn't plan on anything happening with Lena, but didn't know how to stop it either. He talked like the kiss, the moments, the silence. They were all accidents. Like she was just caught in a messy in-between. She couldn't breathe. "You let me believe it meant something," she said, voice shaking but controlled. He ran a hand through his hair, said it did mean something, just not the way she thought. She hated that her heart still ached even as it shattered. Kayla walked in halfway through. She saw Lena's tears, the way Noah looked cornered, the weight in the room. "What's going on?" she asked slowly. Lena froze. Noah didn't speak.
So Lena did.
"I kissed your brother," she said. "It happened more than once. I didn't mean to hurt you." Kayla stared at her, disbelief plain on her face. The silence that followed felt like punishment. Kayla didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just looked at Lena like she was a stranger. "Why didn't you tell me?" she asked, voice steady. Lena didn't have an answer. Nothing would have made it better. Nothing could undo the damage. Noah finally said, "This is on me." But the words were empty. Lena knew the truth. They both let it happen, and now the price was being paid. That night, Lena packed her things.
Kayla didn't say goodbye.
Noah stood by the door, silent. She didn't ask him anything. There was nothing left to ask. In the car, Lena didn't cry. She didn't replay every moment. She just sat there, feeling the weight of everything unsaid. The worst part wasn't the betrayal. It was knowing she'd let herself fall for something that was never real, not fully. And knowing that in doing so, she'd broken something that once mattered more than anything else. Lena didn't reach out after she left. Not to Noah. Not to Kayla. She needed silence. Not to punish them, just to hear herself think. The days that followed felt unfamiliar, but in a strange way, freeing. For the first time in weeks, there was no pretending, no hiding, no guilt pressing on her chest. Just space. And in that space, clarity. She thought a lot about what love meant, what it wasn't. It wasn't confusion. It wasn't silence when things got hard. It wasn't something that made you lose yourself while chasing someone else's attention. She realized she'd accepted breadcrumbs and called it affection, mistaking moments of connection for commitment. That hurt more than the betrayal. She wrote a letter to Kayla. Not to fix things, just to say what she couldn't in the moment. She didn't send it, but writing it helped. She apologized for not being honest. For crossing a line she knew existed. For letting a momentary feeling matter more than a lifelong friendship. She wrote that she missed her, but didn't expect forgiveness. Some things couldn't be forced. There was no dramatic closure with Noah. One day, he called. She let it ring. Then a message. "I'm sorry. For all of it." She stared at the screen for a while before replying, "I know." That was all he got. That was all she had left to give. College started a few weeks later. New people, new routines, new distractions. But she was different now. Sharper, quieter, more careful with her energy. When someone showed interest, she no longer rushed to fill the silence. She waited, observed, asked herself whether the attention felt like safety or a risk she'd already taken once before. Slowly, Kayla responded to one of her old texts. Just a simple, "Hope you're doing okay." Lena smiled at the screen. It wasn't healing, not yet. But it was a start. Something to build on, slowly, without pressure. Lena never blamed love for what happened. Love hadn't failed her. She had just misunderstood what it was supposed to look like. Real love wasn't secretive or one-sided. It didn't ask you to betray someone to prove its worth. It didn't leave you guessing where you stood. Looking back, she didn't regret feeling deeply. She only regretted letting those feelings override what she knew was right. But that mistake gave her something she didn't expect: clarity, boundaries, a new standard. What happened that summer would always be a quiet ache, tucked somewhere she didn't visit often. But it no longer defined her. She'd walked away. Not bitter, not broken. Just wiser. More herself. And in that, there was peace.